Parents, I'm about to share something with you that will completely change how you understand 3 of the most challenging behaviors that children display: lying, tantrums, and aggression. Donald Winnicott discovered that these behaviors, which we often see as defiance or manipulation, are actually revealing something much deeper about your child's emotional world. When you understand what these behaviors truly mean, you'll realize that your child isn't trying to be difficult. They're trying to survive emotionally, and they're showing you exactly what they need from you. Let's start with lying, because this is something that absolutely terrifies most parents. When your 4-year-old looks you straight in the eye and tells you they didn't eat the cookies when there are crumbs all over their face, your first instinct might be to worry that you're raising a dishonest person. But Winnicott would tell you something completely different. He'd say that lying in young children is actually a sign of healthy psychological development, and it reveals something beautiful about their inner world. Here's what's really happening when young children lie. They're not trying to deceive you in the way that adults lie. They're actually showing you that they have developed what Winnicott called a private self. They're beginning to understand that they have an inner world that's separate from yours, and they're experimenting with what it feels like to have secrets, fantasies, and experiences that belong only to them. When your 3-year-old tells you they saw a dinosaur in the backyard, they're not lying in the adult sense. They're sharing their rich, imaginative life with you. When your 5-year-old denies breaking something they clearly broke, they're often expressing their wish that they hadn't done it, or they're afraid of disappointing you. In their magical thinking, if they say it didn't happen, maybe it really didn't happen. Winnicott understood that this kind of lying is actually the child's attempt to protect something precious: their sense of self and their relationship with you. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're trying to avoid the shame or disappointment that they think will come if they tell the truth. They're showing you that they care so much about your approval that they're willing to create an alternative reality where they're still the good child you love. But here's where it gets really important. How you respond to these lies will determine whether your child develops healthy boundaries between their inner and outer worlds, or whether they learn to hide their authentic self from you. If you respond with harsh punishment or make them feel ashamed for lying, you're teaching them that their inner world isn't safe with you. If you respond with curiosity and understanding, you're helping them learn to navigate the complex relationship between their private thoughts and their public behavior. Now let's talk about tantrums, because this is probably the behavior that parents find most exhausting and embarrassing. When your child has a meltdown in the grocery store because you won't buy them candy, it feels like they're being defiant and trying to manipulate you into giving them what they want. But Winnicott discovered that tantrums are actually the opposite of manipulation. They're moments when your child's emotional system is so overwhelmed that they literally can't control themselves. A tantrum is what happens when your child's big feelings exceed their capacity to manage those feelings on their own. It's not a choice they're making. It's their nervous system going into overload because they don't yet have the brain development or the emotional skills to handle the intensity of what they're experiencing. When you understand this, everything changes about how you respond. Winnicott saw tantrums as your child's desperate attempt to get help with emotions that feel too big for them to handle alone. They're essentially saying, "I have feelings that are bigger than my body can contain, and I need you to help me feel safe and regulated again." The screaming, the flailing, the seeming irrationality, all of this is their immature nervous system's way of trying to discharge overwhelming emotional energy. What's really beautiful about Winnicott's understanding of tantrums is that he saw them as moments of profound trust. Your child is showing you their most dysregulated, vulnerable state because they believe on some unconscious level that you can help them get back to feeling safe and calm. They're not having tantrums with strangers. They're having them with You because you're their safe person, their emotional anchor in a world that often feels too big and too intense. But here's what many parents miss. When you try to stop a tantrum by giving in to what your child wants, you're not actually helping them learn to manage their emotions. And when you punish them for having a tantrum, you're teaching them that their big feelings aren't acceptable. What they really need is for you to stay calm and regulated while they work through their emotional storm, showing them that their feelings are manageable and that you can handle them even when they can't. Now let's address aggression, which might be the most misunderstood behavior of all. When your child hits, bites, or acts aggressively, it's natural to think they're being violent or mean-spirited. But Winnicott discovered that aggression in eyes and in children is actually a vital life force that gets expressed in destructive ways when children don't feel safe expressing it constructively. Aggression, according to Winnicott, isn't inherently bad. It's actually the energy that drives growth, exploration, creativity, and self-assertion. It's the force that helps children separate from their parents, develop their own identity, and engage with the world in active ways. But when children don't have appropriate outlets for this aggressive energy, or when they feel unsafe expressing their assertiveness, it can come out in ways that look destructive or violent. Think about it this way. When your 2-year-old bites another child, they're not trying to hurt them out of malice. They're expressing frustration, excitement, or overwhelming feelings through the most primitive means available to them. When your 4-year-old hits you when they're angry, they're not trying to be abusive. They're showing you the intensity of their feelings in the only way their underdeveloped emotional system knows how. Winnicott also understood that aggression often emerges when children feel powerless or unheard. If your child feels like their needs aren't being met, if they feel controlled or dismissed, if they feel like they have no voice or choice in their world, that aggressive energy has to go somewhere. It often comes out as hitting, biting, or other aggressive behaviors because they don't know healthier ways to assert themselves or communicate their needs. Here's something that might surprise you. Winnicott found that children who never show any aggression can actually be more concerning than children who do. A child who is always gentle, never assertive, and never shows any aggressive impulses might be suppressing a vital part of themselves. They might be so afraid of their own aggressive energy that they've learned to shut it down completely, which can lead to depression, anxiety, and difficulty standing up for themselves later in life. So what do these 3 behaviors, lying, tantrums, and aggression, really reveal about your child? They reveal that your child is a complex human being with a rich inner world, intense emotions and vital life energy that needs guidance and support to be expressed in healthy ways. They reveal that your child trusts you enough to show you their most difficult moments. And they reveal that your child needs your help learning to manage their emotions and express themselves in ways that work in the world. Let me give you some practical ways to respond to each of these behaviors in ways that honor what they're really communicating. When your child lies, instead of immediately punishing them, try to understand what they might be protecting or afraid of. You might say something like, "I can see this is important to you. Can you help me understand what happened?" Or, "It sounds like you're worried about what I might think. Let's figure this out together." The goal isn't to ignore the lying, but to create safety for truth-telling. You want your child to learn that they can trust you with difficult truths, that mistakes are opportunities for learning rather than reasons for shame, and that your love for them doesn't depend on their perfect behavior. When your child has a tantrum, instead of trying to stop it immediately, try to see it as their emotional system working through something important. Stay calm and present. Offer comfort if they'll accept it, and let them know that their feelings are okay, even if their behavior needs limits. You might say something like, "You're having some really big feelings right now. I'm going to stay here with you until you feel better." Remember, the goal isn't to prevent all tantrums. The goal is to help your child learn that their emotions are manageable, that you can handle their big feelings, and that they will always return to a state of calm and connection with your support. When your child shows aggression, instead of just focusing on stopping the behavior, try to understand what need or feeling might be driving it. Are they feeling powerless, overwhelmed, frustrated, unheard? You might say something like, "I can see you have some big, strong feelings. Let's find a better way to show me what you need." The goal is to help your child find healthy outlets for their aggressive energy while teaching them that their feelings are valid even when their behaviors need limits. You might offer them physical outlets like jumping, running, or punching. Pillows. You might help them use words to express their frustration. You might give them more choices and control in their daily life so they don't feel so powerless. Here's something crucial that Winnicott understood. All three of these behaviors, lying, tantrums, and aggression, tend to decrease naturally when children feel more understood, connected, and supported. When your child feels like their inner world matters to you, when they trust that you can handle their big emotions, and when they have healthy ways to express their needs and feelings, they don't need to use these more primitive forms of communication as often. This doesn't mean you ignore these behaviors or let your child do whatever they want. It means you respond to them with understanding and guidance rather than punishment and shame. You set limits while honoring feelings. You teach better ways of communicating while validating the underlying needs these behaviors are expressing. What's really beautiful about this approach is that it helps your child develop what Winnicott called a true self. When you respond to their most difficult behaviors with curiosity and compassion, you're teaching them that all parts of them are acceptable, that their emotions are valid, and that they can trust you with their authentic self. This creates the foundation for emotional health that will serve them throughout their lives. Children who feel understood and accepted in their most difficult moments learn to trust themselves and others. They develop better emotional regulation because they've experienced being co-regulated by a caring adult. They learn healthy ways to express their needs because they've been guided with patience and understanding rather than controlled with punishment and shame. As we wrap up, I want you to remember this. Your child's lies, tantrums, and aggression aren't signs that you're failing as a parent or that your child is bad. They're signs that your child is human, that they have complex emotions and needs, and that they trust you enough to show you their most vulnerable and difficult moments. The next time your child displays one of these behaviors, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what might they really be trying to tell me? What do they need from me in this moment? How can I respond in a way that honors their inner world while still guiding them toward healthier ways of expressing themselves? Your child isn't being defiant. They're being human, and they need your understanding and guidance to learn better ways of navigating their complex emotional world.